is Lotta and Brown of Stiftungs-TV here at the 4th International CSR Conference in Berlin. Welcome, Mr. Professor Heal from Columbia University. It's a business school in USA. And Professor Heal, when principles pay, this is a topic of your plenary session and the title of your recent book about corporate social responsibility. Does ethical principles really pay for a company? And the other question, what are the costs of unmoral behavior of companies?
So, yes, ethical behavior can pay. It doesn't always pay, but can pay for certain types of company. It would be nice if it always paid, but I honestly can't say that, unfortunately. But companies that are in the public eye, companies that have big brand names, there's a fair amount of evidence, increasing amount of evidence, that ethical behavior helps boost the value of the brand and increase the value of their image. And a lot of companies are basically selling image, brand. You know, they have a lot of competition. There's not a lot that physically differentiates them from their competition. So ultimately, the consumer will deal with the company which they feel more comfortable dealing with. They feel is a better company, more represents them. And in that context that, that ethical behavior can, I think, help sales and promote sales. And there's some studies of capital markets, there's some studies of consumer behavior that all tend to support this idea. But if, on the other hand, you're say, a business-to-business company, you're making very technical components that are used by somebody else, and you don't deal with the final consumer, then in that context there seems to be less evidence, unfortunately, that ethical behavior affects your profitability. There is a role of socially responsible investors. So if you're a public company, then socially responsible investors may tend to boycott your shares if you behave badly. And there's some evidence that does impact share prices. But the biggest driver here is the consumer response. And that really isn't there in the business-to-business context. But it is there for the big brands, the big retail brands.
On the other side, what we observe is that companies often regard social or environmental projects as icing on the cake, when something they can do in addition, when business is fine. So what do you think about that when you say the principles, the ethical principles pay for the companies?
That's a mistake. I mean, if ethical issues matter to you, to your company, they matter always. They're not something you can switch on and switch off. I mean, the payoff from ethical behavior is a long-term payoff. It's not something that makes you more profitable this quarter or next quarter. It pays off over a 5 to 10 year period. So if you're ethical for a couple of years and you stop being ethical, you've just wasted that investment. I mean, you have to take a long-term perspective. It's a 5 to 10 year payoff, but it's a real payoff over that kind of time horizon.